He has not forgot about that lineage. Scattered, dispersed, called Negro, called nigger, called bywords and proverbs, sent to the four corners of the earth, mixed in, Hellenized, sausage, egg, and cheese biscuits, pork chops, running in Coliseum games, shooting each other on the street, gang violence, bloods, crips, homicide rate, poor health, leading in cardiovascular disease. Yah said, I ain't forgot about my people. The nations may forget, but I ain't gonna forget. I ain't gonna forget about the transatlantic. I ain't gonna forget about Alligator Bay. I ain't gonna forget about Willie Lynch and lynched Negroes and pickaninnies. I ain't gonna forget. And that's the power of a living God that took a book that was always ours and made the enemy think, oh, this is for everybody. Just so he could get that book to the four corners of the earth, so that when he woke up the remnant of his people that was scattered because of their disobedience, he could wake them up with a snap of his finger. That's the love we're going to talk about in this video, y'all.
Right? Now look at these. Y'all, I'm telling you, I got to show y'all. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Just look for yourself. And this is the creme de la creme. All praises be to the Most High, y'all. Everything we've been through, y'all, the Most High is going to retribute it on all the nations that have had a hand in the oppression of his apple, the apple of his eye, his chosen people, his beloved, his fervent lover, his only begotten. They're going to have their part in the lake of fire. You see them tormented by some kind of creature. I don't even know what that even is, y'all. Judgment. In chains. He that led into captivity shall go into captivity. All praise to the Most High, Yah. It said, thou that dwells in the clefts of the rock. Whoa. I know a lot of y'all know about the Caucasus Mountains. Let's just let the word speak. Let's go to verse 4. Though you exalt yourself as the eagle, and though you set thy nest among the stars.
Romans killing riotous groups that are rising up.
Yes, I turned around quickly, and the next thing I saw was Malcolm falling back in a dead faint.
My mother threw herself over her babies, and she yelled out, they're killing my husband.
I heard shots, and I saw people crawling on the floor. And so I got down too. Then when I was looking out, and I saw someone look in amazement to the front, I knew they had shot my husband.
He sustained one shot in the lower right chin, and the other 6 hit him in the chest and body.
I looked down at him and I said, he's going to die. I kept saying to myself, he's going to die, he's going to die.
How many immediately? No, he wasn't dead immediately, but expired very shortly thereafter.
Killing any potential threat, any potential messiah.
Dr. King left his room, 306, at the Lorraine Hotel just before dinner to get some air. He walked over to the railing at this spot, and noticing some friends below, he leaned over and began to speak with them. Police say 205 feet away, in a window in a flop house, the assassin waited.
Killing any potential threat, any potential messiah.
And Rob, some call that deadly raid the massacre on Monroe Street. Black Panther leaders Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed. Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed. Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed.
What's up, Zion Dynasty? This is your favorite dreaded Israelite, the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. JB Zion. Y'all show me some love, show me some love. You already know what time it is. Your boy is back in the flesh to hit you with another banger. All praises, honor, dominion, glory, world without end to the mighty one of Jacob, the holy one of Israel, the restorer of Zion, the lifter up of the 12 tribes, the redeemer of the seed of Yaakov, the Most High Yah. All praises be to our Father Yah. And first I want to say peace, love, blessings, and black power to the chosen race of the Most High Yah, even the seed of Jacob, even the E1B1A carrying kings and queens of this earth, the children of Zion, all my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters. Shabbat Shalom. I love y'all from the bottom of my heart. We cannot do this without y'all. I'm so hyped, y'all. I got the greatest family on earth. Y'all are just so supportive, uplifting, just everything. Y'all have a brother on 10. Y'all have me getting up doing these things because I love y'all. I love doing this work. Y'all are just the best. But not just y'all. I also want to say peace, love, blessings, and black power to all my Gentile brothers.
Not those that's on here trolling though, because I know y'all be here.
Brothers, all those that ain't lost in the sauce, all those that ain't on the payroll of Satan doing these urban apologist junkie missions. I love y'all. And all my trollers, man, I love y'all too. Come on into the channel. Come on into the lion's den where your boy breathing hot coals of fire and bringing that. Oh, praises be to the Most High, y'all. So I just want to welcome everybody that's tuning in to Zion Dynasty. And as y'all know, your boy lit already, right? And if you ain't subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. I'm going to take a moment of silence for you to go ahead and click that subscribe button. Go on and like this thing up. So family, y'all know what it is. Y'all go ahead and like this video up, comment, share to as many people as you know. Subscribe if you haven't. Also, I'm gonna pick that Cash App up for your boy if y'all want to support me, Shawnee D, our family doing this work, the research, the Harvard studies, the Oxford studies, the Harvard DNA found in the land of Israel, the Harvard Tudor Parfit professor that verifies the black Jews of Africa and the Americas. We looked at Oxford scholar Edith Bruder, who also in her book, The Black Jews of Africa, also attests to tribes like the Igbo, the Yoruba, and us being linked to the biblical Israelites, the tribes that so-called African Americans, so-called Crayola color black, so-called two lonely sandwich continents, Africa and America, slapped together, that we actually descend from West African tribes that actually descend from Israel. We've been going through all that, y'all. We've been going through the scholarship. We've been taking advantage of DNA tools such as 23andMe, GEDmatch, My True Ancestry, all of this, E1B1A, linking us genetically back to the children of Israel. We looked at the curses, y'all. We looked at how the Most High prophesied through Moshe Hanavi that the children of Israel would go into Egypt, go into bondage again on slave cargo ships, and there in the countries of their captivity will be sold as bond women and bond men. We looked at it. We looked at that we will be carried away by a nation as swift as the eagle flies, that we will have a yoke of iron around our neck. And speaking of that eagle that flies, y'all, we've been dealing with the history of Esau. We've been dealing with Esau being the end of the world. Edom, that last 10 toes of the statue of Daniel, that last American Babylonian way of thinking, that European critical race theory-based driven society, which is the contradiction of the Most High Yah and the way he rules, right? Our Father rules through his family Israel in a government of community, of social love, of I am because we are. If Big Mama has Kool-Aid and Aunt Sally got sugar, the whole community drinking a cold glass together. We dealt with these contrary worldviews in our Esau Edom series. Y'all check that thing out. We talked about all this, the prophecies. We talked about Obadiah, that this Esau people, that they would dwell in the clefts of the rock. They would seek to set their nest in the stars, right? But not just that, we looked in the hidden book of 2nd Esdras, the prophet Ezra, that said in 2nd Esdras chapter 6 verse 9 that for Esau is the end of the world. I repeat, Esau, Edom, all of those Confederate countries would be the last world empire before Jacob. We got next. Let's go. Yoruba. But now Ephraim of the tribe of Joseph, we got next, y'all. When Yeshua returns as that rock carved out without hands and dashes the vanity of men, even the empires that would rule. We looked at Daniel's statue in detail. The head of gold, the arms of silver, the brass abdomen. We looked at the iron thighs and legs, and the iron mixed with clay toes that was summed up as this fourth beast that Daniel saw in Daniel chapter 7. Now in Daniel chapter 7, the Most High did not give Daniel the animal representation of that dreadful beast, but we see in Ezra. That's why they took Esdras out, y'all. Y'all get yourself a 1611 King James, or get yourself a Sefer. Get that thing, y'all. They taking these books out. They took the history of the Gentiles of salvation, really being Israelites, being Hellenized, back to the Maccabean period. Y'all got to get these books. Y'all have to get yourself a good study Bible. A Bible that has all these books in it that you can study. Get you one with tabs. Get you a notepad. Put that in the back of your Bible and be taking notes. Y'all take notes about this stuff. So we looked in 2nd Esdras that beast that Daniel saw, that last empire, that 10-toed fourth beast, would actually be an eagle. We saw in Revelation that this beast will come up out of the sea. And we see Daniel say that this beast will be the last empire. Ezra says this beast is this eagle that comes out the sea. So Ezra unifies like a perfect match puzzle piece the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. It's powerful, y'all. And we link that to America. We talking about America being the United States of Babylon the Great, that great city. Now we know Edom is the last ruling people, but that horn that would come out, that whore of Babylon that would come out as the shining prince of Edom, is actually America, y'all. We went in detail about America being Babylon. We went into Jeremiah chapter 16 as well as Jeremiah 23, that the Most High Yah, y'all better talk to me. I get excited when I think about these things. We looked at first in Deuteronomy 30. We looked at Leviticus 26, that the Most High our Father said, even though I had to take my belt off to chastise my people, that the marriage arrangement was only delayed, but it was not denied. He said, I will not utterly forsake my people, right? Because in Deuteronomy 30, we read how the Lord said, after all these things have come upon my people, after the alligator bait, after the black on black crime, after the massive incarceration, after all the socioeconomic ailments and the glass ceiling our people would have to endure, being discriminated against, being gunned down like slaughtered animals on the street, after all these things have come upon my people, I ain't never gonna forget about my people. Just like in Jeremiah 31, where he says, every time you see that sun up in the sky, every time you see that moon shining so bright, every time you see the host, the stars of heaven, and the waves roaring in the street thereof, Israel would never cease to be a nation. I repeat, Israel would never cease to be a nation. So in Deuteronomy 30, he says, after all these things, I'm going to come get you. I'm going to find you in every country that I scattered you in. I'm going to redeem my heritage, right? Ain't no church replacement theology around here. We got all the smoke. Israel now and Israel forever, world without end. All praises be to the Most High Yah. So we saw a lot of things, y'all. Y'all got to check all these videos out. But we started looking at that 2nd Exodus. And that's what we've been dealing with lately. The kingdom of Israel, our deliverance, and our world without end. Our government, where our Messiah returns, Yeshua. He raises us up in all these countries that the Most High had to whoop our tails, y'all. He had to send us into captivity. But the Most High Yah is going to regather us through his Mashiach. Regather us from all the countries we've been scattered to through Deuteronomy 28. He would regather us, restore us, and take us back to Zion. We're leaving Babylon and we're going back to Zion, and we are in the season, family. We talked about that 400-year prophecy. We talked about how that ended in 2019, and right then the Most High took the belt that he was whooping his firstborn with and turned his anger toward the nations. We saw also that Yeshua had to wait till all these things was over, right? Our Messiah could not come and take us back to Zion until we fulfilled our end of the bargain because of our disobedience. Because of just all this stuff we had done, Yeshua knew that, well, I gotta die. I have to die to be the atonement for your sins. Yeshua took his immunity and applied it to his community in death. Chess, not checkers, allowing his life to be spread to the four corners of the earth so that when his people who had to be scattered, a lot of y'all are probably like,
but JB, if Yeshua died, why we still had to go into that last captivity?
Because all things that were written had to be fulfilled. The book, the great book, our heritage, the Bible had already prophesied in Deuteronomy 28 that we would go into captivity as swift as the eagle flies. So Yeshua knew this. But he also knew he had to die anyway to atone for our sin, to break the curse, the spiritual cycle that was upon us of captivity, not knowing who we are, being at the bottom, because we were trapped in the penalty of us breaking the contractual agreement of our forefathers. Yeshua had to die to snap the grip of death off of Yah's people and justify within his life the salvation of Zion. So when he come back next, y'all, it's gonna be that smoke. Let's go. Yoruba, Benai Ephraim of the tribe of Joseph. So we talked about these things, y'all, and we looked at those chariots. Y'all was loving these chariots. I ain't done with these chariots yet, y'all. These UFO, UAP, these ships that are actually the very chariots of the host of Yah. We looked at Yahuwah Sabaoth. We looked at the Lord Yah of the host, or the Lord Yah of angel armies. We looked at them shooters on the roof. Them shooters that came and snatched Enoch up and said, Enoch, we out of here. Them same chariots that came and got Elijah. Them same chariots that came and got Yeshua in Acts chapter 1. We looked at them. We looked at when you see the clouds taking up Yah's people. These are that's an actual metaphor for the chariots. We looked at in Psalms 104 that the host of the Most High Yah are thousands upon thousands, right? And that they are as the clouds. The chariots are as the clouds, right? So when you see that cloud that came to get Yeshua, this was actually the chariot of the Most High Yah. We see the angels confirm this when they say, what y'all looking crazy for? The same way Yeshua left is the same way he coming back. We looked in 2nd Ezra that he gonna be in the sky. So y'all, it's a lot. Y'all gotta check out all these videos. But when we were going through all that, we started talking about the mystery of Yeshua and his return. And that's what we're going to talk about today, y'all. We're going to talk about the return of the Messiah and the nations. Are they going to be happy about that thing? And I'm going to tell y'all that America ain't the friend of us. America's not the friend of the Most High. The European Union, these 10 toes, they do not love the Most High. Trump is not trying to shake hands with Black Yeshua. I'm just going to tell y'all. And that's what we're going to talk about. The United States of Babylon and the 10 market companies have set up a system to prevent the rise of the Black Messiah, to prevent the return of the Black Messiah. Now, y'all, this is going to get into a lot of history. Now, y'all check out a lot of those other videos. I'm bringing this up to go into detail on Cointelpro. We have not, I thought about it. I was like, I've never really dealt with what Cointelpro is. But today we're going to deal with it. And we're going to deal with books like scholars like Josephus and him talking about that same spirit. We're going to look at the Malcolm X FBI file. I'm telling y'all, we're going to look at this thing in detail to show you that there is a spirit, the spirit of the red dragon, which is the very spirit that fuels Edom to keep the transition of power from taking place. Y'all hear what I'm saying? The nations know that their time is up. They know that we got next. They know about these black folks waking up. They know that we finding out our history. They know that we testing our old bones. They know that we got that little black book, that little brown book like Joseph, and we telling Esau we going back to our land. Now, spiritually, we saw how Esau represents that anointed cherub that guards the Garden of Eden. Now, that went off into some deep stuff, y'all. That when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden, there was an angel sent, a cherub, this is what the scripture says, to guard the Garden of Eden to keep Adam from returning. It was a rite of passage. This same angel, we learned through Ezekiel that this is actually this is a term for Satan himself, the spirit, that fallen angel that is used by the Most High Yah to guard our promised land. It's deep. But not just that. We see in Revelation chapter 2 and in Revelation chapter 3 that there is a people of Satan. So Satan spiritually is guarding our promised land. And then he has a seed, the synagogue of Satan. Those Ish people that seek to guise themselves as Jacob and guard that land. And they say, we're going to push a button if y'all niggas show up. If y'all think you coming back over here, we're going to boom tomb y'all up out the sky, right? Satan has a people, y'all. But right now, that old guard, that Edomite power construct is shattering before our very eyes. Let's go! The Most High is beginning to bring down Edom and resurrect Yahakobi and restore us and ultimately get us back to that land, and the nations know it. But y'all check this out. The nations already have preliminary precautions for every scenario of our salvation. It's some deep stuff, y'all. Now, we talked about in the previous videos about the chariots, about the Space Force, that the United States government, the European Union know about the chariots. We watched the National Geographic video clip about one of the physicists trying to replicate these UFOs. We looked at attorney generals. We looked at space colonels, and all of them having eyewitness testimonies about these ships. The nations know. We saw the video about the ship that landed on the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. So the nations already know about these UFOs. They call them unidentified flying objects. They don't even know what they are. They tell us they don't know, but they know that these are the host of heaven. We talked about Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, how they believed that Elijah Muhammad and Farid Muhammad actually were taken up in these ships, just like Enoch, right? Just like Elijah, just like Yeshua. So the nations know that these things exist, but you would think if they know that this is the God of heaven, that they would not come with that smoke. But we see the opposite. We see a confederacy where these Edomite nations said, before we let y'all be the world without end, before we let y'all break this curse because it's been lifted and go back to your land, we are going to fight. And that's what's going on, y'all. First, we're going to look at Josephus, and I'm going to show y'all something about the spirit that seeks to kill Mashiach from coming back. A lot of y'all like, they can't stop Yeshua. They can't stop the Hebrew Messiah from coming and resurrecting Zion and taking us back to the land. But they sure trying to do it, y'all. So let's look at the foundation of where this spirit comes from. Now, I'm telling y'all, I got this off C4Net. Y'all got to get your boy Josephus. Josephus dropped some dimes. We read in Josephus in the Book of the Wars. Now, this is Antiquities. But in the Book of the Wars, I have it over there somewhere, but I'm just going to walk y'all through it. In the Book of the Wars, when the Romans were destroying Jerusalem, we see Josephus hear the sound of a train. We see Josephus say that when that was going on, he heard a voice of a multitude say, "Let us depart from them." And he was like, what in the world? Now, when you hear "let us," it's Genesis 1:26, where we see "let us make man in our own image." Now, who is the plural? Now, in that text, the Hebrew word Elohim is used. Elohim is plural. El is singular. So why is it saying the plural gods? This is the Most High Yah and the angels. We saw how Raphael in the book of Tobit, it's a lot of history, y'all, how he was mistaken as any other Israelite. They're even given specific tribes where they're like our brethren anyway, right? And that they have the similitude, according to Ezekiel chapter 1, of any other human being. But they can show a divine nature. They can show their four faces, or their wings can appear, but for the most part, they appear as any other man. So you can't tell. So in natural, they look just like us. So when the Most High said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness," he was talking about the Most High Yah, his son Yeshua, that's a complex issue, and the angelic hosts themselves, family. This stuff is powerful. So Josephus in the Book of the Wars hears that "let us depart from them." And he's like, what the world is that? And what is actually going on is the glory of the Most High is departing from Zion. Y'all, this stuff gives me chills every time I talk about it. There is a tangible presence that fights for the children of Israel. While we've been under curses, we can't even think supernatural, right? We just been trying to survive. We at the bottom. We getting these run-of-the-mill rat race jobs, and we can't fathom that there is a spiritual element. Yes, this is a natural lineage, E1B1A Israelites, but not just that. There is a spiritual component to the curse being lifted. Y'all better talk to me. When the curse is lifted off y'all's people, angels get dispatched. Oh my goodness, boss. When the curse is lifted, angels got shooters on the roof. Y'all better talk to me. But until then, the glory of Yah departed. And we saw this start in AD 70. That them ships said, let's get out of here. And Josephus heard this thing. And the rest of Israel heard it. And great fear fell upon them. And Rome began to tear them out the ever-loving frame and destroy women, children, boys, girls, and it was a slaughter. And the ones that didn't escape to deeper into Africa, because Yeshua told them, he said, y'all, we black Hebrews, we known to go into Africa. We known to go deeper into Africa. If you don't get out of here when you see them troops coming, you're going to be killed by the edge of the sword and led away captive. We know all these things happen. Our people were tore out the frame. The ones that did run into Africa, the white man Edomites, descendants came and found us anyway through Christopher Columbus and Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, and took us to the four corners of the earth anyway. But why I went to that was to show you that Josephus talks about those chariots. This stuff is real, y'all. We show videos of Oprah and all them other videos talking about these angelic beings who a lot of these people that see him describe him as being looking like niggas. It's crazy, y'all. And I mean that in a proper, in a good term. The white man has corrupted that term. In Acts 13:1, the early church were called Niger or nigger. That's what they were called. And we saw that in J.A. Rogers' book. So when I say it ain't no other stuff. So now we're going to go to Josephus, family. And we're going to look in the book of Antiquities where we see the spirit that is trying to fight God Almighty. Yah Almighty, Yah of the host. White folks is not going to just let the kingdom come. They are not just going to allow Yeshua to come. And I know we can't fathom that there's a people that's going to fight the Most High. Joel chapter 3, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, the War of Gog and Magog. We talked about these in the other videos. This stuff is prophesied to happen. And in 2nd Ezra, we see that even though they're afraid, they're going to fight anyway. This is in 2nd Ezra chapter 13. So now let's go to Josephus, the most prominent Judean historian probably known to man. And we're going to look at the spirit that gives these nations the boldness to fight the living Elohim Alahayim. Let's look at it. So in Josephus, Antiquities, chapter 9, section 2, it says, while the affairs of the Hebrews were in this condition, there was this occasion that offered itself to the Egyptians. There was a way that the Egyptians were offered a way out. Now we looked in the book of Jasher, the hidden apocryphal book, that the reason the Egyptians took special notice was because when Esau, now this was Zepho united all of Amalek and all of Europe to fight against our forefathers while they were in Egypt. Egypt, they was fighting, they was turning, they was like swing, 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 swing. And they looked over and they saw Jacob taking jokers, body slamming them, knocking them off the post. So the Egyptians over there fighting like, what the world? And they see Israel, 40 of them, pit thousands of them to death. And Egypt, they run. They leave the Israelites. They say, and when they get back to Egypt, the Egyptians like, we got to have a talk. We got to deal with the Hebrews. Them boys like LeBron James, Deontay Wilder, Mike Tyson, them boys legend. We got to do something. We have to take some special counsel because if they rise up again, if they can do that with that amount of folks, they can tear us out the blue flame. We got to do something about this. So Egypt says we got to deal with these cats and we got to deal wisely. So we see in our regular King James in Exodus chapter 1 that's when Pharaoh, the Pharaoh that didn't have no respect for Ephraim or Joseph, our forefather, he didn't have no respect for that generation of Israelites. He said, we're going to have to do something about these jokers. Kill every last one of they man babies, throw them in the water. What was that, Pharaoh, sir? Pit them in the water. Pit them in the Nile. Kill every last one of them. And don't ask me again. But this history goes into detail in Josephus. We see more history of this in Josephus Antiquity. So let's continue. So a specific occasion offered itself to the Egyptians, which made them more solicitous for the extinction of our nation. So on top of them wanting to kill us because they saw how we got down in war, something else happened that made it worse. Let's read it. One of those sacred scribes, who are very sagacious in foretelling future events, truly told the king that about this time there would a child be born to Yasharal, who, if he were reared, would bring the Egyptians' dominion low and would raise the Israelites, that he would excel all men in virtue and obtain a glory that would be remembered through all ages. Which thing was so feared by the king that according to this man's opinion, he said, oh, heck no. He commanded that they should cast every man child that was born to the Israelites into the river to destroy them. This is in Josephus, Antiquities, book 9, section 2. Y'all read that. You might can Google it online. I found a copy online. So y'all Google that and you read it. That this all went into that spirit of Pharaoh. So now when we go to Matthew chapter 2 and we see Herod, who is an Edomite, who is a chocolate Edomite, who married a bunch of Israelites who looked like us, but DNA went back to Edom. I'm dropping a nugget. Some people say J. Edgar Hoover was that. I'm just gonna throw that out there. We got this Edomite who's actually an Edomite that seems like he's us, but he ain't, but got our kind of blood in him. It's coming up with a way. He says, who is this Who is this king that I hear about? I'm the king of Judea. Is there another that is to come? Now he was fishing and he finds out that the Messiah was being born around that same time. Based on the wise man, based on a lot of different things that were going on around Yeshua's birth, it was a prophecy that was set in time itself of when the Most High Yah would clothe himself in human flesh, where eternity would have a date with humanity and consummate create the God-man himself, Yeshua, who was the epitome of what all the Israelites should be, the gods of this earth. Yeshua, splendor in his veins, perfection in every word he spoke. Yeshua, being born, this Herod Edomite said,
wait a second, where is this child supposed to be born at?
Now the wise men had already been warned, don't tell him. The angel said, you better not tell him nothing. So they said,
we're not sure where he was born at.
The wise men knew. So Herod goes on a rampage, killing every Bethlehem Judean doggone Israelite male 2 years and under. And the prophecy says that there was great weeping by Rachel because her sons were not, right? Because Herod was killing all these babies. Now this is a spirit, family. This spirit was the spirit of Pharaoh, the spirit of the ancient Egyptians that we see in Josephus, that we see in Exodus chapter 1, a spirit to prevent the rise of a black Messiah. Now let's fast forward. Let's look at America today. Y'all all getting excited. Let's just look at the European Union. America and these white folks, these Edomites, have taken crafty counsel against Yah's people in two ways. They said, we gonna stop the Messiah from coming above. We got a space force. Y'all better talk to me. We know about the chariots. We know about Yeshua coming with the clouds with the chariots. So what we gonna do is we gonna have a space force. Now I showed y'all the clip with Trump, and I might insert that again, right? Yeah, I'm gonna insert it. We're gonna look at Trump saying the reason for a new branch of the military is actually for defense, for American defense. Defense from what? Ain't nobody flying around in space unless there is somebody. Let's look at it.
My administration is reclaiming America's heritage as the world's greatest spacefaring nation. The essence of the American character is to explore new horizons and to tame new frontiers. But our destiny beyond the earth is not only a matter of national identity, but a matter of national security. So important for our military.
So family, I'm telling y'all, this stuff is deep. This stuff is powerful. America is prepared to fight Almighty Yah. I'm telling you. That's why they made the Space Force. That's why America buddy with the Ish people. They working with Satan. Satan is guarding the land from us. And America working with them. Let me give y'all an example. And I might put a clip up here about Thanos. Thanos, if y'all didn't watch Marvel or the Avengers, this stuff gets deep. First, I'm gonna deal with Thanos by himself. So Thanos is this villain, this super villain in the Marvel Avengers world, right? And his whole goal is to collect these stones, these specific stones, to have all power to be able to wipe off a certain group of humanity and establish his reign or whatever he's gonna do after the fact, right? Now in the movie, in the Marvel movie, this is split up into two movies, y'all. Now look how the nations know this information. They take Bible truths and make movies out of them. So they make two Thanoses, in Infinity War and in Endgame. They got the one that collects the stones and wins. Then in the second, the last Marvel of that phase, I guess you would call it, in Endgame, Thanos, this super villain, takes the technology of Tony Stark, his Iron Man gauntlet, and tries to use their technology to destroy them. Now y'all got to look at this. Y'all got to know prophecy. The weapon that Thanos uses is a two-edged sword. I'm gonna put it on the screen so y'all can see. Now where does this sound familiar? You have this cat dressed in purple and gold, and y'all, if you ain't seen this, you gotta watch this. Thanos at one point does a gesture like this, in purple and gold, and it sounds like IUIC or the bishop or somebody. Thanos does this kind of pose. His whole goal is to collect these stones and to destroy the nation. He uses a two-edged sword, and he has these chariots, y'all. One of them I showed y'all in the chariot video looks exactly like Ezekiel chapter 1. It's a literal wheel. They call it the Q ship. It looks just like a wheel, just a straight up wheel in the sky. So Thanos trying to collect these stones, two-edged sword, judge these nations, purple and gold. I'm like, what? And guess who he's fighting? The Avengers. And guess who leads the Avengers with the power of the Greek gods? Captain America. They even give Captain America the Thor's hammer to represent the Norse Greek mythology stuff. And Captain America is leading the charge against this purple and gold two-edged sword, chariot wielding. Y'all gotta hear me now. Why do I bring all that up? In the movie now, you know white folks know their history. Captain America trying to fight this dude. Now this is American people writing this. They said we see a nigga with a two-edged sword and we see purple and gold, or we see him in the sky with chariots. We're fighting against that. We will protect empire. We will protect the Roman toes of Babylon. We will protect America, the United States of Babylon. Y'all, this stuff is crazy. So anybody that says America,
you know, in God we trust. America.
America is the most godless country there is. America does not fear Yah. If they did, they would have gave Yah's people reparations, just like the Most High expected the Egyptians to do, give them reparations and send them back to their land. America still tramples the residue of Yah's people underfoot. They do not fear the Bible. Y'all better hear me now. They do not fear the Most High Yah. But the Most High said, I'm going to show you that you are but man, and that I am he whose going forth has been of old. Yes! Whose going forth has been of old, from everlasting to everlasting. Yah Sabaoth is my name. The Most High said, I do all these things. So America is fine, bro. Y'all can keep oppressing y'all's people. You don't have to fear them. You can get your little allegiance together and go to war with them chariots if you want to, but you're going to get this smoke. Now, y'all, this stuff is deep because it shows us that America has precautions in place to fight this event. We see this with Trump and the Space Force. Trump has a literal branch of the military devoted to stopping this thing. But not just that, y'all. It gets deeper. America not only has prepared for the waters above, but the waters below. That's deep because in 2nd Esdras, it says the Messiah would come from the waters. Now we know that the firmament in space is also called the waters, right? In outer space, if you're exposed, it's like water vapor that would freeze you to death if you're outside of a protective suit. But not just that, the waters below. So when the scripture says the Messiah shall come forth out of the waters, we know that's talking about Christ in the heavens. But there's a deeper meaning as well. The waters below. Because we see how Pharaoh, that spirit of Pharaoh in Exodus 1, in Josephus, that Pharaoh spirit tries to kill a birthed Messiah out of Israel in the waters below. So that represents Yeshua returning from on high, and Yeshua being raised up in that spirit through the leaders of Israel. Now this is where we get into Cointelpro. This is where we get into J. Edgar Hoover. This stuff is exciting, y'all. This is where we see that America said we're going to prepare if that nigga come out the sky, and we're going to prepare for any Messiah that rises up for his people. This is what we talk about Malcolm X, Dr. King, Stokely Carmichael, Fred Hampton. This is where we see Marcus Garvey, Denmark Vesey, all of these leaders, Nat Turner. There is an age-old spirit that has prepared in the spirit of Pharaoh to make sure that there will never be a black Messiah anywhere again. In the sky, Yeshua, you ain't coming. And if you raise up, and if you take your spirit and put it in the leader, we gonna prepare against that scenario as well. That's why I tell y'all, this whole concept of how is Yeshua gonna return is very complicated. It's very complicated because Yeshua, he ain't tell us everything, and the Most High didn't either, because he wants us to trust him. And if we knew everything, there are principalities that are listening to what we're saying. Y'all gotta understand what I'm saying now. Every word and all the knowledge we know is in part by design, because angels and different agents are listening to what Zion knows. They're listening to the prophets. That's why I got agents on the channel. Y'all are welcome to come, because I'm finna spit this truth and you finna hear these slices and dices, these swing coming for your head, because I ain't finna sugarcoat it, right? But we have to be aware, of Zion, that there are agents of Satan that are listening. They always listening. So America, J. Edgar Hoover, the United States government have a Cointelpro agenda, and we finna deal with it. Now first, I'm gonna show you a clip of why America is afraid. I'm gonna show you a clip by Marcus Garvey, and you're gonna see the type of spirit that the Most High could raise up that sends shivers down America's spine. Let's look at Marcus Garvey's speech.
You had Herod, an Edomite, and his dynasty. Herod's ruling, killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah.
As my work has only just begun, and future generations shall have in their hands the guide by which they shall know the sins of the 20th century. I know, and I know you too believe in time when we shall wait patiently for 200 years if need be to face our enemies through our posterity. When my enemies are satisfied, in life I shall come back, or in death even to serve you as I served before. In life I shall be the same, in death I shall be a terror to the
killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah.
That thing powerful. Now you see Marcus Garvey says, I shall return either in life or in death. Now y'all gotta look at how powerful this is. In life I will be a flame, and in death I'll be a terror. We see Marcus Garvey say. We see Marcus Garvey almost prophesy that you will not stop this thing. Even if it ain't me, the people gonna get back to the land. Let's look at Dr. King saying a similar thing.
Fallout. Smoke.
And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. We'll get to the promised land. We'll get to the promised land.
Y'all, I'm telling you, now you see how prophetic that thing is? Dr. King said, I might not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. All of these leaders that y'all rose up, all of these anointed vessels had insight, had vision. They knew the end game was to restore y'all's people and get us back to the land. But not just that. When we got to the land, when we got back to Zion, when we established our kingdom, world without end, when our enemies were conquered, when the chariots on the roof, when the Most High parts the flames of destruction, his people walk right through, when all these things happen, that our people will rule the earth in Torah, in righteousness, and loving kindness, with a family government where if Big Mama had Kool-Aid and Aunt Sally had sugar, we all have in a glass, we would rule not with the capitalistic critical race theory based driven worldview of Edom, but we will rule the world in righteousness. This is why I tell all the Gentile supporters, I love y'all as well. Y'all being a part of this, if you support Zion, if you humble down, don't let some of them, I know some of my Israelite brothers will try to comfort y'all, but understand, they're coming out of that place of love for their people because they know that a lot of white folks do some shiesty stuff and they try to sneak in and infiltrate and then do some wickedness. So excuse them, but their heart is in the right place. But understand what I'm telling you. If you submit to Israel, know that we're the people, pray for us. You turn back to the Most High, watching our example, humbling under Israel, saying stuff like, I take the crumbs from the table as a dog. If you have that kind of faith, the kingdom is for you as well, family. So that's why I call you family. But understand that there are Gentiles that see us as a threat, that see this type of government. They love capitalism. They love just one people being at the bottom and being a scapegoat society, and the prison system getting billions of dollars off of our people being the scapegoat. There is a family that loves that thing. So when they hear things like Fred Hampton.
I'm the deputy chairman of the state of Illinois Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton. And a lot of people don't understand the Black Panther Party's relationship with white mother country radicals. A lot of people don't even understand that word that Israel refuses a lot. But what we're saying is that there are white people in the mother country that are for the same types of things that we are for, stimulating revolution in the mother country. And we said that we work with anybody, form coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind. We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism, and we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. We know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. It's a byproduct of capitalism.
So when they hear things like Fred Hampton, y'all heard that now. Fred Hampton is saying you don't fight capitalism with capitalism. The type of government that is going to come when Yeshua returns, when y'all's people are elevated, the type of government that's about to come is the whole world going to be under one umbrella of Israel and Yeshua, and that's it. It ain't no, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, it's going to be one government ruled by Torah, and that's it. Anybody that ain't with it, they put to death, right? So this type of social, I ain't gonna use the word of the worlds, like the terms they use, socialism and communism, but it's gonna be a universal family-based government where everything is spread out by a king, his people, the 144, the captains, all the different hierarchy of heaven are gonna rule this earth, and it ain't gonna be no questions asked. The scripture says with a rod of iron. Anybody that ain't with it, you get lost in the sauce, that means your head being cut off. Straight up, 1000%, sharpshooter. I'm telling y'all. So the nations fear this thing, but even more than the government of the kingdom, they fear that everything they've done to y'all's people, oh my God, everything they've done to y'all's people, they fear that it's coming back on their heads. We read this in Joel chapter 3. He said, what you gonna give me? What you gonna give me, Tyree and Zidon? You gonna have to come on with some, well, I don't know. Well, okay. Whatever you think you gonna give me, I don't even want it. But just know, everything you done, I'm gonna recompense it on your head. The nations fear that thing, y'all. They fear that there's a judgment coming. And instead of just doing right by y'all's people, giving us reparations and putting us back in the land, they are prepared to fight. Now let's look at Malcolm X. Let's look what Malcolm X kept it 1,000 with him. How he says that they fear us doing these things. Let's look at it.
Well, the Muslims who have accepted the religion of Islam and follow the religious guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have never bombed any churches, have never murdered any little girls, as was done in Birmingham, have never lynched anybody, have never at any time been guilty of initiating any aggressive acts of violence during the entire 33 years or more that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching us. The charge of violence against us actually stems from the guilt complex that exists in the conscious and subconscious minds of most white people in this country. They know that they've been violent in their brutality against Negroes, and they feel that someday the Negro is going to wake up and try and do unto them as they have done do unto the whites as the whites have done unto us. Do unto the whites as the whites have done unto us. Do unto the whites as the whites have done unto us.
So family, now you see why Cointelpro exists. And now I'm finna show y'all a clip explaining Cointelpro and showing you exactly how dark this government-funded agency, this one just no J. Edgar Hoover, he got licensed from the United States government to infiltrate every black power group, to discredit it, to cause Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad to fight each other. Yeah, I'm gonna bring it out. To have secret dirt on Dr. King, all of this stuff, to get Fred Hampton to beef the Black Panthers against the Young Lords, and to send false letters, all of that, y'all. So when black folks complain, white folks know that we don't study enough to be able to, so they'll just say none of that happened, and we'll be like, yeah, it didn't happen, because we don't read, and y'all's people perish for a lack of knowledge. But they know not to do that with your boy, because I come with receipts, and I know the history, and I know how, even though they say everybody is equal, they have done everything in their power to discredit y'all's people. And this truth has to come forward, y'all, and we know that the Most High Yah is in control, and he's gonna judge these things. But we gotta let y'all be true. We gotta let truth speak and let everything else be a lie. Now let's look at the history of the dark, wicked Cointelpro.
FBI is a government agency supposedly intended to protect American civilians from the worst criminals imaginable, from domestic terrorists to serial killers. But who do you run to when the FBI wants you dead? It may seem like the high-concept premise of the latest Jason Bourne movie, but this was actually the terrifying reality faced by a number of political leaders and public figures as a result of Cointelpro, the FBI's clandestine series of projects intended to bring American activism to its knees. But what was Cointelpro really? When did it happen? Who were its targets? And what terrifying illegal methods were employed under its purview? There's only one way to find out. But be warned, by the time this video is over, the FBI won't seem like the brave crime stoppers the movies often paint them as. Under Cointelpro, which stands for Counterintelligence Program, they were responsible for everything from psychological warfare to cold-blooded murder, all committed against mostly non-violent individuals whose greatest crime was questioning the system. Just how far the system will go to silence these questions will alarm and terrify you. And at the heart of it all, was FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who opened a nightmarish Pandora's box of government overreach and illegal domestic espionage. The year is 1956, and the Red Scare is in full swing. You don't need to be an expert in American political history to know that mid-1950s America was terrified of communism. The threat of the bomb loomed large over American psyches, and Soviet spies and sleeper agents seemed to lurk in every shadow. Russia and the West were fighting a culture war, and the US was scared it was losing. When someone is afraid and backed into a corner, there's almost nothing they won't do to protect themselves, whether the initial fear is justified or not. The US needed bold strategies to fight the perceived communist threat growing within their own borders, and J. Edgar Hoover was on the case. He gave his underlings a sweeping directive to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize any political groups deemed too submersive for the FBI's liking. Hoover had the tacit permission of President Eisenhower and soon after President Kennedy, and Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy personally signed off on a number of covert projects under the Cointelpro banner. Of course, while every sinister government project requires some enabling bureaucrats to sign all the permission slips, there always needs to be some triggermen willing to get their hands dirty and get the dastardly job done.
I thought you said you were serious about growing on TikTok. Then how come you haven't gotten into my free TikTok growth course yet? You heard that right. It's 100.
In this case, we have William C. Sullivan, director of the FBI's domestic intelligence operations. Sullivan's first target was the Communist Party of America, who, on name alone, were obviously no friends of the Cold War FBI. Some of the techniques used by the FBI to destroy the Communist Party from the inside, including having agents sending threatening anonymous phone calls, having the IRS constantly audit them, and sending in forged documents to sow dissent among the party's ranks. You'll come to notice that this is a running theme among the Cointelpro projects, using psychological warfare tactics to turn groups against each other and alienate their members. To this end, literally nothing was off the table. FBI agents infiltrating meetings and posing as members to cause conflict, intelligence gathering for blackmail and extortion, and even spreading rumors to increase the tension. Though compared to just how horrific and violent their methods would later become, some blackmail and rumor spreading is pretty quaint. While the Communist Party was a perfect training ground for refining their domestic espionage techniques, the activities that would make Cointelpro infamous were perpetrated against civil rights groups, starting in the late 50s and continuing through the 60s. Dr. T.R.M. Howard, a prominent black surgeon, entrepreneur, and civil rights leader, was critical of the FBI's inaction on a number of infamous hate crimes, including the murders of Emmett Till and George Washington Lee. This prompted Hoover to turn the dangerous attentions of Sullivan and his FBI cronies to black civil rights groups, starting with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, on the grounds that they were supposedly hotbeds of subversive communist activity. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference was just the tip of the iceberg, though. During their 15-year heyday, Cointelpro would infiltrate and attack the Black Panther Party, anti-Vietnam War organizers, feminist groups, environmentalist and animal rights groups, the Nation of Islam, the Young Lords Puerto Rico Independence Group, and the American Indian Movement. In their very minor defense, they also did take on the Ku Klux Klan, but when you need to compare yourself to the Klan to have moral high ground, you're not doing well. Perhaps their most infamous victims were two of the most well-known civil rights leaders in American history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. It all gets a whole lot worse from here. In 1963, Dr. King gave his iconic I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington, while generations of people across the world were touched and inspired by this incredible piece of history. The FBI were terrified. Dr. King was dreaming too big for their liking, and they wanted to put him in his place, that place being 6 feet below the ground. Hoover ordered Sullivan to turn his attention to discrediting and destroying King and the movement he'd come to represent. Sullivan subsequently released a horrifically racist statement. In the light of King's powerful demagogic speech, we must mark him now, if we've not done so before, as the most dangerous Negro of the future in this nation from the standpoint of communism, the Negro and national security. The espionage began. King's home and hotel rooms were bugged, and his phones were tapped. The FBI was listening intently to his every word for blackmail material that they could use to silence King. You're probably asking, silence him? As in pressure him into discontinuing activism and renouncing his beliefs? To which we'd answer, no. They wanted Dr. King to kill himself In 1964, after years of collecting audio evidence of Dr. King's marital affairs, King was sent a suicide package 2 days before he was supposed to collect his Nobel Peace Prize. The package included copies of the incriminating audio, as well as a truly horrifying letter. The letter, while anonymous, is believed to some to have been written by Sullivan himself. It's a verbally abusive speech that opens with King. In view of your low-grade, abnormal personal behavior, I will not dignify your name with either a Mr. or Reverend or a Doctor, and your last name calls to mind only the type of king such as King Henry VIII, and his countless acts of adultery and immoral conduct lower than that of a beast. The letter almost reads like the cruelest internet comment you've ever seen, complete with a plethora of personal insults and spelling errors. And much like an internet troll with a serious mean streak, the letter ends by attempting to pressure Dr. King into committing suicide. It reads, King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason, and it has a definite practical significance. You are done. There is but one way out for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation. While for legal reasons they stop just short of saying straight up, kill yourself or we'll humiliate you, the implications are crystal clear. When King didn't give in and take his own life, Cartha DeLoach, the FBI assistant director at the time, began leaking the incriminating evidence to every news outlet imaginable. They were ruthless in their willingness to destroy reputations and lives to achieve their goals, but things were going to get a whole lot worse. While they were trying to manipulate Dr. King into taking his own life, the FBI were stoking the fires of tension among the Nation of Islam and the Organization of Afro-American Unity, both known for their association with civil rights leader El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X. Through COINTELPRO, the FBI widened the rift between Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam, after a sustained harassment campaign involving infiltration, rumor mongering, and the artificial elevation of conflict. The disagreements of Malcolm X and Muhammad turned deadly, and Malcolm X was assassinated by some Nation of Islam gunmen. While the FBI denied direct involvement in the assassination, there's extremely credible evidence.
I get further and further in. By the time I hit the 90 days, I had lost right at 30 pounds, and my jeans were
that their involvement in exacerbating the conflict led to the murder. As the 1960s drew on, the FBI intensified its COINTELPRO operations against prominent civil rights groups, Dr. King and his associates in particular. This project was known as COINTELPRO Black Hate. According to a 1968 FBI memo, they feared that Martin Luther King Jr. was becoming a kind of messiah figure and would unite the various disparate civil rights groups into a force that could truly be reckoned with. If Dr. King ever decided to reject nonviolence and lead to an armed revolt, they would be in serious trouble. King was public enemy number one, but prominent members of groups like the Black Panthers weren't far behind. All of them had to go. The FBI concluded with numerous police departments in cities with considerable Black Panther presences, including San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oakland, Philadelphia, and Chicago. They would coordinate raids into the homes of Black Panther members without warrants, during which many of said members were shot dead by police. One particularly infamous example is the assassination of Chicago Black Panther Party chairman Fred Hampton. On December 4th, 1969, Hampton was drugged and incapacitated by deep cover FBI infiltrator William O'Neill. A Chicago PD tactical unit then entered his home at the FBI's behest and murdered Hampton in his bed in cold blood. No crime was too cruel and no tactic was too underhanded for COINTELPRO. With the help of colluding police departments, the FBI was able to launch a brutal harassment campaign against figures in the world of leftist politics and civil rights. Specific individuals like Elmer Geronimo Pratt, a Black Panther Party leader, were accused of crimes they didn't commit and arrested on false pretenses. Evidence was falsified, witnesses were intimidated, and legality was twisted to serve whatever purpose the FBI wanted it to. Pratt spent 27 years in jail for a fallacious murder charge just because he was a member of the Panthers. Members of the KKK, like Gary Thomas Rowe, were kept on the FBI payroll as informants, while still committing atrocities like the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing. And this wasn't an isolated incident. Under COINTELPRO, it was clear that the FBI preferred hardline white supremacist groups to black liberation movements. They funded and supported former members of the 1960s far-right group the Minutemen in their goal to create this secret army organization, essentially a militant terrorist cell that fought against civil rights groups with tactics of intimidation and outright violence. Hundreds, if not thousands, of potential enemies of the FBI were spied on with everything from wiretaps to direct stalking techniques. They even teamed up with the CIA in 1967 as part of their own domestic spying project, Operation Chaos. The Cointelpro reign of terror would consume the whole decade, a decade mostly known for flower power, free love, and imported British rock. The whole program was so sprawling that even figures like James Baldwin, Ernest Hemingway, and Muhammad Ali were on their list of enemies. Incidentally, Muhammad Ali ended up being a major force in the end of the Cointelpro operations, as his 1971 fight with Joe Frazier acted as a form of cover, while activist group Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI broke into an FBI field office in Pennsylvania. The group stole critical files on the Cointelpro operations and blew the lid on the whole sordid affair, leading to considerable scandals and shame for the FBI in the public eye. Within a year, J. Edgar Hoover had announced that centralized Cointelpro operations were officially over. And while the FBI has hardly been squeaky clean since, the dissolution of the centralized Cointelpro operations was an undeniable win for anyone who likes the idea of living in a truly free country. Of course, only a fraction of the files were stolen, and many of the files subsequently released by the FBI have been heavily altered and redacted. The fact is, we will never know the full extent of the FBI's sinister activities between 1956 and 1971. But what we do know is that the FBI activities under the Cointelpro umbrella were some of the most terrifying and illegal in American history. Groups who were simply exercising their quintessentially American First Amendment rights were attacked, defamed, arrested, and dissolved. And the people who formed these groups were at best threatened and manipulated, and at worst murdered and pressured towards suicide. We wish we could give you a more comforting ending, but instead, we'll leave you with two questions. What are the chances that Cointelpro was an isolated incident? And what else have the FBI done?
Family, there is so much to unpack in that video. We see how they sent Dr. King a suicide package. We see how they fueled the flames of Elijah Muhammad versus Malcolm X to the point that Malcolm got killed, because Elijah Muhammad, them brothers was loyal. I'm talking about they still saw Malcolm as the son of Elijah Muhammad, rightfully so, because he was the spiritual son of Elijah Muhammad, but he was starting to flap his own wings, and a lot of those older loyalists said, you ain't finna come through here doing that. So when Malcolm X said stuff like, well, I don't care about JFK being assassinated, it's just the chickens coming home to roost. Even though they told him, don't go up there bashing JFK. Black folks love JFK. They got a Dr. King and a JFK in every big mama house, right? So Malcolm X said, I'm gonna keep it 1,000. And it cost him his life. And then the FBI flew back like they didn't have nothing to do with it. But we knew that they were stoking the fires, sending false letters, egging it on the entire time. And we didn't find this out until way after the death of Malcolm X. That all of these infiltrations, Dr. King being assassinated, Malcolm X being assassinated, the FBI literally just going in and killing Fred Hampton. All of this was out of fear of a black messiah. Now I'm gonna show you a clip from this book. Now y'all gotta get this book if you don't got it. Malcolm X, the FBI file. We see the purpose of Cointelpro. Now let's put it on the screen. It says to prevent the rise of a black messiah that could unify, electrify all black power groups together with one heartbeat. Y'all gotta hear me. And cause a true black revolution. When they say black revolution, they talking about the kingdom. Let's go! But they don't know that they ain't gonna be able to stop it. World without end. That is coming. That Zion riseth. That the dry bones of Ezekiel live. Joint to joint, marrow to marrow. Even the dry bones that were left for dead. A dead nation. Alligator bait. Stripped of their history. Scattered to the four corners of the earth. Reduced to ashes both naturally and spiritually. Children beat beyond recognition. Little boys walking with Skittles and sweet tea and gunned down like animals. Through all of that, the Most High said, I give you a head start. The Most High said, go ahead and do your thing. And Yeshua just pacing back and forth like a pit bull on the chain, said, go ahead and let him do it. I'm gonna have to give you a head start. Because when I bring that smoke, when I bring that vengeance, ain't nothing gonna stop it. And the nations have thought doing all this stuff, killing Dr. King, killing Malcolm X, killing who else I said, Fred Hampton. They thought that they could actually stop prophecy from coming to pass. They said, we got preparation in the heavens. If Yeshua come with that smoke, if he raised up one of his Israelite family and puts his spirit in them to use them, we gonna come against that as well. But I'm telling y'all, I bring out all this history to let you know that the nations are not our friends. that the Most High, there is a reason why he has to judge their wickedness. I used to wonder why. Like, why somebody gonna fight against the Most High? Because, y'all, they have done a lot of wickedness that is an outright declaration against heaven itself that says we are Babylon. We are empire. They got that proud spirit dwelling in the clefts of the rocks, setting their nest in the stars, got a space force, got Cointelpro funded agencies going in, killing every leader with no fear. But just know, Yeshua coming. So y'all, I hope y'all learned some of this history lesson. I know it was a lot. I just want you guys to understand what we're up against. We are up against a centuries old spirit, the spirit of Pharaoh, that is coming against Israel relentlessly. They ain't our friend, but just know that greater is he that is in us than he that could ever be in Babylon. Just know, y'all, we got next. So with that, y'all, peace, love, blessings, and black power to the chosen race of the Most High, y'all. I love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Shalom. Shabbat shalom, family.